dog treats is a huge responsibility because owners are trusting you and your company with their dog. Hey guys, it's Minyoung from Bambi and Bambi's DIY. In today's video, I'm going to cover dog nutrition and how to source your ingredients, how to develop your recipes, and how to cost your products. This video has a lot of information, so grab your notebook and pen to take some notes. Making dog treats is a huge responsibility because owners are trusting you and your company with their dogs. So it's up to you to put out products that are safe, healthy, and wholesome and high quality, especially if you're making those claims. For instance, it drives me absolutely crazy when pet companies use marketing buzzwords like all natural and then use red number 40 dye in their treats. I'm here to be the voice of dogs everywhere and want to say please don't do that. If you're new here, I'm the creator of Dog Bakery Academy. I guide people how they can launch their dream career of owning their very own dog bakery in my new How to Start a Dog Bakery e-course. I ran and operated a widely successful dog bakery called Bambi and Bambi's for almost 7 years, and my new passion is teaching people exactly how to do it. I feel there's a need for more dog bakeries offering healthy, wholesomely made treats and cakes. Instead of hoarding all of this information to myself, I want to share it with all of you so consumers have more healthy options for their dogs. I'm planning on pre-launching the course in August 2020, so sign up for the mailing list so you can grab your spot. I'll add a link in the description box below. If you're curious about what Dog Bakery Academy is all about, you can check out my other video where I answer the most frequently asked questions about the course, as well as my other How to Start a Dog Bakery videos. I'll add links to those in the description box below as well. I'll also be doing another course update video once the course is about 90% done, so you know exactly what to expect. I also make dog treat recipe and other doggy lifestyle videos as well and upload them every Friday, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a video. Whew! Now that's all out of the way, let's get into it. The first topic I want to talk about is nutrition. If you have dreams about owning a dog bakery, I'm assuming you're in it to make all natural, high quality products that are beneficial for dogs. If you're not, then this course is not for you. I made this course specifically for those who love dogs and care about nutrition and bringing the very best treats with high quality ingredients to the market. Nutrition was very important to me when I created Bambi and Bambi's Dog Bakery, and it's very important to be selective when choosing your ingredients. There are too many pet treated food labels that look like this. I mean, what on earth are those long words? My motto has always been, if I wouldn't eat it, then my dog shouldn't have to either. So where can you get your ingredients? People think that when they first start out, they have to buy in bulk, and this is not true. When you're just starting out, you can source your ingredients from your local grocery store. I don't recommend doing this the whole time you're in business because it can get really expensive and costing your product is going to be a lot. Once you start growing, you can source from vendors, farmers, and wholesale food ingredient suppliers. My ultimate sourcing guide, where I list all of my suppliers from ingredients to shipping, will be included in the course, or it can be purchased on its own. But before you make a trip out to your grocery store, take some time to research the ingredients you want to use. The ingredients must be safe for dogs and approved to use in your products. There are several ingredients that are unsafe and extremely toxic to dogs. Some of the most common toxic ingredients that should never be used in your dog treats are chocolate, grapes, raisins, macadamia nuts, nutmeg, onions, garlic, and xylitol. I hope I say that correctly. On a side note, when you're sourcing peanut butter, make sure it's a single ingredient peanut butter. A lot of peanut butter contains xylitol, and just make sure that it does not. While we're talking about ingredients, I also want to discuss artificial food coloring. I don't recommend using artificial food coloring. Instead, you can use all natural vegetable food coloring. The reason is because artificial food colorings contains ingredients that can be toxic to dogs. For example, red number 40, and red number 40 can cause seizures in dogs. I also want to point out for vegetable food coloring, avoid vegetable food coloring that contains annatto and grape. Annatto can cause seizures in dogs and is often often used in red and orange food coloring, and grape is often used in purple food coloring. Another ingredient question I'm often asked is, can you use artificial or natural preservatives? It is my preference to not use any preservatives in my products. This is just a personal decision for me when I started researching how I can preserve my products. I did read some studies and decided against it. Like I said before, if I wouldn't feed it to my dogs, then I'm not gonna feed it to yours. There are many times I had to refund orders because packages were delayed and the products arrived moldy, but in the end it was fine with me because I'd rather not add anything artificial or harmful to our pets. Recipe development. Another question I get asked often is, how do you develop recipes? Recipe development is like a science experience. You have to make the perfect balance of wet and dry ingredients, transform it with heat, and you get a tasty treat. I know, it's like magic. Recipe development takes time, patience, but it's so rewarding once you nail and create your perfect recipe, especially when it's a bestseller. Your recipes are important and your business's secret sauce, so it's important to spend time perfecting your one-of-a-kind recipes. People often ask me where I get my inspiration for my recipes, and to be honest, it's mostly from Bambi and Bambi and their taste buds. I also receive inspiration from my customers requesting certain products, food trends, holidays, and sometimes in ways that are out of the blue. I remember when cream puffs were all the rage. This was like years ago, and I randomly got a call to make doggy cream puffs for an Old Navy commercial. It was so funny because during the call, the producer didn't tell me what it was for and just to drop them at this random house in the valley. Looking back now, it sounds super sketchy. But the person I spoke to was so nice and so sweet, so I just told her, yeah, no problem, I'll see you tomorrow morning. Since I made these gluten-free doggy versions for the Old Navy commercial, I introduced them to my customers and they just loved it. Thanks, Old Navy! But most of the time, I take Bobby and Bambi's favorite food and/or ingredients and try to create a recipe around it. If they love it, then it's in. Ever since I found out my dogs had allergies and started cooking and baking for them, I had never baked from scratch before. I had so much learning to do. It was so overwhelming because I didn't know where to start, and back then gluten-free baking really wasn't mainstream. I remember one friend's Thanksgiving when I was in college, I was chosen to make the dessert for the whole party. I had no idea what to make, so I tried making a pumpkin pie, which was a huge mistake. I didn't know how to use an oven, so I tried baking it in a toaster oven, and I did not know how to test if it was done, but I thought, okay, 30 minutes has passed, it must be done. Well, I took it to the party, or the friend's Thanksgiving, and it was still raw. My friends still joke about it to this day. So what I want to say is, if you have no baking experience, don't worry. If I can do it, then you can do it. I did some basic research on food science and what ingredients go together, and I was on my way. I bought a notebook to start and documented my test recipes for each batch. For each batch, I wrote down all the ingredients, the measurements, technique, and recorded each step. For example, I would record the amount of time it took to whisk my wet ingredients in the mixer. Over time, you'll get used to it more and more. You'll instinctively know not have to record the step for each step. It's good to write these steps down so when you hire bakers, they have a detailed step-by-step recipe to follow so your product is always consistent. I also record the oven temperature and time the treats need to bake in the oven. I highly recommend purchasing oven thermometers. That way you can see if your oven is correctly calibrated. For example, if your oven is set at 350 degrees and your oven thermometer in your oven says, you know what, it's actually 325 degrees, you can write this down or remind yourself to set your oven at 375 so that internally it can reach 350 inside the oven. Purchase a few thermometers or replace them every 6 months. This is because they usually burn out quickly and you always have to make sure your oven is at the correct temperature every single time. On a side note, if you plan on using a dehydrator, it's also a great idea to record the temperature and the time for each treat. I know this sounds like a lot of work and so tedious, But trust me, you want to write everything down to avoid having to go back and try to rack your brain and figure out what you did. Since you'll be juggling a lot of things at once, it's so easy to forget what you did the day before or even 10 minutes before. So writing it down is always a good idea. I also wrote down notes of what could be done to make the batch better. For example, let's say I'm doing a test recipe for peanut butter banana biscuits. I'll write down the batch number, let's say batch number 5, and I'll write down, oh, it's too dry, let's add more coconut oil. Oh, it's too banana-y, let's reduce the bananas by 25%. Definitely needs more peanut butter, let's add 2 more tablespoons. Once you start developing more and more, this will come to you like second nature, and it'll come more naturally to you. For each test recipe batch, I kept revising and baking until the batch was perfect. When you're creating your recipes, these are some things to consider: taste, texture, moisture, and appearance. I wish I could tell you that there was an easier way, but the truth is the only way you can really develop your own recipes from scratch is by drafting, testing, and drafting and testing again. As you develop your recipes, you will develop your process and technique. Your process and special technique are the elements that create your amazing finished product. You know when you look up a recipe on Pinterest and people post a review and a picture of their finished product from the recipe? Even though everyone is baking and following the same exact one recipe, don't you notice that all of the photos look different? It all comes down to your process and technique. You'll learn and perfect your technique each time you do a test batch, and no one will be able to do what you do. And that, my friends, will be your secret sauce. In the beginning, it would take me days to weeks to figure out one recipe. Now I can put something together in one try or with very minimal revisions. My gluten-free apple pie crust took me forever to figure out. I want to say like weeks. Since the crust was gluten-free, it was so hard to develop a recipe that wouldn't crack after baking. But I was determined to be the first to make a human-like pie for dogs, especially for the holidays. And I'm so glad I didn't give up because it was definitely my bestseller. I had other dog bakeries purchase my pies to copy them or sell pies right after me, but all of our pies look different. And it's really because of my technique and process, and it was unique to me, and you just can't recreate it without somebody teaching you. In the course, I'll be providing my base and full recipe so you have a starting point to experiment with. Trust me, this will save you hundreds and hundreds of hours and dollars from recipe development. You'll thank me later. Here's a tip. When you're developing a recipe, try to use the same kitchen and oven you plan on producing in. This is because when you finalize a recipe and send it off to the lab is going to analyze your treat based on where you baked and stored your treats. A home kitchen and oven is very different from a commercial kitchen oven. So the guaranteed analysis will depend on where you produce, not only with the kitchen equipment like your oven, but also the humidity levels and temperature affects your product as well. You can always develop your product at home, and once you're happy with the recipe, you can test it in a commercial kitchen convection oven and revise your product there. Once you have your finalized recipes, take some time to think about packaging. One thing to consider is the moisture content in your products. This is because moisture causes mold to grow, and we don't want that. So how do you cost your products? Costing while you're recipe developing is the smartest thing to do. Costing is when you add up all of your costs from your ingredients, supplies, labor, and all the costs that goes into making your product. You don't want to create a product and send it to the laboratory only to find out your product costs way too much. When you start recipe developing, it's a good idea to make a column for each ingredient and the amount of time for labor. There are a lot of factors that go into costing, and it's so important to spend some time so you can make sure your business is profitable and not losing money. Yes, making treats for a living is a dream and so much fun, but if you're losing money with every product, your business will end up going under. In the course, I will be providing worksheets and walking you step by step on how to cost your products and how to mark them up for retail and wholesale. Well, that's all for today. I hope you found this information useful and hope it inspires you to get in the kitchen to start baking and testing your recipes. I recommend that you bake a lot before you even consider signing up for the Dog Bakery Academy online course or even starting this business to see even if you like to bake. There's a lot of baking involved. So if you don't like baking, I don't know if this is the career for you. You certainly won't be baking forever, and when you're able to, you can always hire bakers to take over the baking and work alongside with you. I cover all of these topics and go more into depth in my How to Start a Dog Bakery online course. If you found this information valuable, then you'll love the course. Let me know what you would like for me to cover in the comment section below. I would love to hear your ideas. You can follow me on Instagram at Dog Bakery Academy or Bobby and Bambi's Dog Bakery. Thank you so much for watching Dream Big, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!